Laci,
Hey, hey.
are you tired yet?
You know, I'm here. I am tired, but I still have energy. So
In mind and body.
yes. Now, in about like an hour, I might be on the floor. I don't know.
That's when you're finally gonna crash.
Yes.
And
yes.
you did it all without any energy drinks.
I had caffeine this morning. I had a iced coffee, so that gave me a boost. All that sugar.
And do you know what I've just noticed as well behind you? You still haven't eaten your lunch.
I have not. I mean, we were on a time crunch, and I was like, I could sacrifice this meal. And I also don't like eating when I'm stressed out or when I have a lot on my mind, because I feel like, I don't know, it's something about just the joy of just sitting and relaxing and eating. And I always have a bad habit of like being on the go. Like, I'm always thinking about something. I never can like shut myself off and just chill. And so that's been brought to my attention more recently. And so I'm like, all right, I want to sit and enjoy my meal and not feel like that I need to be doing something. And plus, again, time crunching. I'm like, I gotta get stuff done.
Yeah, it's not very enjoyable when you got producers like coming in and going, all right, you got 20 minutes,
Listen,
10 minutes.
Mad Max, I know he was gonna give me the eye of like, girl, get back out. So
He's on top of things, isn't he?
he is.
But look, so how was it? How have you enjoyed this experience? I mean, honestly, like, we have literally just wrapped. You're our third artist in
Your
the
favorite.
art in motion. Did you say favorite?
Your favorite.
Yeah. Obviously. The artist that's sitting in front of me is always my favorite.
All right, we'll take that.
No, you are. I mean, the piece is killer. And it
Thank
looks
you.
great next to that car. What
Thank
about that
you.
car?
Thank you. The Bentley, big B, and the B is for Bentley.
For a moment there, where me and you were driving to like our driving to the first location so that you could have, so that you could drive around in it.
Right.
There was a moment where I thought we might just peel off in the car, forget about it.
If you want
The sun.
if you want to pull a stunt where you just like speed off and take the car, I would have been down with it. It was, driving the car was like a crazy experience. It was a point where we were like going up a hill. This is when I was driving. We were going up a hill and you could literally see like the whole skyline of LA. And I was like, I'm really this girl from Alabama that moved here with like nothing, and I am driving a Bentley and like overlooking the city of LA. I was like, dang, I kind of made it, I think.
Felt right though.
It did. It felt
Yeah.
too right.
Felt
and so
good.
the other thought was like, all right, so where can I get the things to get this car? So that's the next step of like, okay, I need to secure a Bentley ASAP.
Tapping up Bentley for the creative ambassador.
Listen, Bentley, if you're
Role.
listening.
They're definitely
I would
listening. I mean, I'm sure they're going to have to check this
Listen,
podcast. They're going to have to approve it.
I would be the top flight Bentley ambassador. Like, the people will never hear the end of it. I feel like that's the ultimate like creative story too. Like, the sort of like made it story if I have a Bentley. So anyway, we need a Bentley. That's the end of that.
You're really selling it.
Tell your people to call my people.
Direct line. Do you know what? Bentley are going to have a lot of applications for that role, for that like creative ambassador role after this project.
They should let the creatives that have worked with them be at the first of line.
But that's what I mean. Out of this project, there's a lot of new fans.
Listen,
So-
I'm here for it.
When did you move to Los Angeles?
2013.
Yeah, and did you move here for like creative reasons?
Yes. So I got an internship with Disney Imagineering.
Oh yeah.
And so I moved here for the internship, and it was like on a whim because I had already interned with them in Florida, but it was a different type of internship. It was like this college program where you work in a park. It was crazy because I was like flipping burgers and like dropping fries at this point. Like, graduated, got a degree, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I was over it for so long because I was like, what am I doing with my life? But it worked out because that position led to this internship. So I moved, didn't really know what was gonna happen because it was very temporary. Like, it was a 3-month internship, but then they would refresh it every 3 months. So it was pretty much like you always have to hustle to make sure that you're like valuable, that it's enough overhead for what you're doing, all this different stuff. So It was stressful, but I knew I had to get out of Alabama, and that was the biggest thing. And for me, it was like, all right, if I go to LA and it doesn't work out, the only, I guess, failure would be moving back home, which was big for me because I was like, I don't want to go back home. But that was like the worst that could happen. So yeah, I got here, and it must have been meant to be because I'm still here.
What are you like with that kind of pressure though? Because sometimes a little bit of like, you know, you move with the mentality of I have to make this work. Can sometimes, that's scary, but
Yes.
it can sometimes be very motivating.
No, and it
like,
was.
There's no other alternative. It's this or nothing.
Right. And if you talked to me during that time, it was really like do or die. Like, you would have thought that I was going to be shipped back to a place of like, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons or something. Like, the way I talked about it was like, I can't go back. I would not go back.
Some Game of Thrones episode.
Yes.
So what's Alabama saying then? You wanted to leave, I guess, what? Because it just didn't have like the creative scene, the art scene,
Correct.
maybe the brands and
yeah. And really at that point I was more fresh out of college. I was doing more graphic design work, and even in graphic design, there wasn't a lot of opportunities that I was interested in. So I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. It's a very, it's known for like NASA, it's known for like the military, like they have a big arsenal that's there, but it's very technical. Yeah. So if you're in the technical field, if you're an engineer or something, you're making money, like you're good. So the graphic design jobs were at places like Boeing, where it was very technical. And I was like, I just don't see myself doing that. And before I left, I was actually working as like an IT person at my old middle school, because in my first degree, my minor was computer science. So I knew a little bit about how to fix stuff. And I was like, all right, like I'm not being that creative. I was doing stuff on the side. I'm not finding any jobs like in the southern region that I wanted to do, other than like maybe Miami, some stuff in like Nashville, Tennessee. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna apply for jobs everywhere. Like I was applying for jobs, name a state, I was probably going like Texas, California, New York, everywhere. I was using friends' addresses. And at some point I had applied for so many jobs at Disney that I think the HR people were just like sick of seeing me. And when they called me, they were like, hey girl, so we've seen your application for like all these jobs and we finally found one. I was like, great. And it just happened to be in California. And it was interesting because when I was applying with Disney in particular, I didn't apply for any California jobs. Yeah. Because out of all the places that I was looking, California seemed the most, I guess, ambitious in regards of like, I don't have any money. Like Texas, pretty drivable, you know, maybe like 8 to 10 hours. Like my dad loves to be on the road, stuff like that. But California, I was like, I don't have any money. Like, I don't know if I can wing it, but I had about maybe like $1,200, and my rental car was like $800 when I got here. And I was like, all right, I just gotta go. So I had to go.
It's amazing though, but you made it work out. And it's like you were talking yesterday when we were talking about your inspirations, like your mum and your dad, and getting like the crazy work ethic. Yes. Which it sounds like if you're like hassling Disney for every job they've got. But you were talking about how you got that work ethic from your dad.
And it's funny because when I moved, like when I got the internship, he was the person that was against me moving. He was like, really? You don't have any money. You need at least $5,000 to $6,000 to be safe, because he also comes from an engineering background. So he's thinking technical wise. He was right. I mean, I did need that. But my mom, on the other hand,
he's doing a risk assessment.
Yes. And my mom was like the balance of like, well, you know, I support you. And it's interesting because right before I moved, she had gotten into a car accident. And she was fine. Like after she hurt her back, but then she was fine. But like she ended up winning a lawsuit for the car accident. And literally that happened. When I moved here, I had 2 weeks of extended stay housing with Disney. And then after the 2 weeks, of course, I needed to find an apartment. But the way that like payroll and all that stuff is set up is like I wouldn't get my first check. It was all this stuff. So I literally did not know where I was gonna go at the end of the 2 weeks. And kid you not, like I got chills even thinking about it. Like the day that I needed to find out where I was supposed to go is when she got her settlement. And she was not supposed to get her settlement for like another 6 months. So she was able to like deposit like $3,000. Like, okay, here's a down payment on your apartment. And I was like, all right, I'm supposed to be here. Like it all lines up. But like now, back to my dad, he says this almost every single time we talk. If we have like a super long conversation, he's like, I'm so glad you didn't listen to me. He's like, I'm so glad that you like, you're your own person. You know what you want to do. You think for yourself. You don't care what anybody else is telling you, and you did it, and you were right. And it's funny because like he cried like a baby when I was at the airport. Like I had never seen my dad cry in my life, and he was just looking at me with his hand pressed against that window like I was going off to the military. And I was like, he was like, that was the first time that he had cried. Probably in a very long time. He was just like, I can't believe you did it, but I'm glad you did, because if not, I would have been at home and probably doing well for myself, but not doing what I'm doing now, because I don't think I would have been able to see the potential in person. 'Cause I think it's a difference between like, you see stuff on social media and you see it's possible, but in LA, you can literally, like, I think I mentioned this before, I never saw a Bentley in my life till I moved here. So I can see that, I can see success. And that would help me better than like looking on Instagram, like, oh, dang, I wish I could do this or whatever. So,
yeah, you're around it. Do you know what I mean? You're like, because that's the thing. I think sometimes with Instagram, even if you are seeing the like, sort of like things that you might like lifestyles that you might want to live yourself. Mm-hmm. For me, at least, sometimes it can be easily translated into like a kind of like a bit of a fear of not having it. But in LA, you're around it.
Yep.
You're around it the whole time.
And you see it. Like my last job, I worked at CAA, the talent agency, and I think I mentioned this to you, was I used to just like stand in valet, like go to lunch and like wait. And I used to stand in valet and I look at the cars like, dang. 'Cause I mean, you see it's clients that have crazy money, so you're seeing it, and I was like, wow, it's just certain things that a certain lifestyle and just things that I had never been accustomed to or never really saw, and it was just it was inspiring to see it, because I'm like, if I can see it, if it's present, if it's close to me, then I feel like I can obtain it. And it may not be something that happens tomorrow or next year, but I'm like, all right, if I'm in the vicinity of it, if I'm this close, if I'm breathing the same air, then like it can't be that far.
Yeah, I agree with that. And do you have any kind of like practices? Like, so we were talking to Michael B, the artist before you, and he was talking all about like, positive reinforcement and affirmations, and how he like, on one hand, he will daily, he has a routine of like gratitude. So he will literally kind of like write down or speak out like everything he's grateful for. But then he also like recites these like positive affirmations, a bit like what you're saying, like, I want to have this lifestyle. So I moved to this place, and now I'm kind of, maybe I don't quite have that lifestyle, but I'm living amongst it.
Right.
Do you have any like more kind of formal like practices?
Not really anything formal. It's actually something that I want to work on. I have recently gotten better at meditating every day. When I first moved, I used to have a blessings jar, and anytime anything happened, I just put it in this jar. And at the end of the year, I would like take everything out, or even.
So wait, the blessings jar is like, if something happens that you're like, that's a blessing, you'll write it down,
put it in the jar, and then at the end of the year, take everything out, just as a reminder to see like how much I was blessed throughout the year.
Yeah.
And sometimes if I was just having like a bad period in life, I'm like, okay, let me take out a couple of these blessings right now, just so I can see it. Now I need to bring that back now that I'm talking about it. But for me, it's really just speaking out positivity and speaking things into existence. There are definitely days where I'm like, okay, is this gonna happen? Like I second guess a lot of stuff, but then at the same time, I have to remember and recall everything that I've said that I was gonna do up until this point, and look at all the things that I have done, and remember that if I keep speaking it out into existence, and if I keep doing the work, which is most importantly, and if I just keep being the best person I can be, and that, I mean, I'm not perfect, obviously, but like at least trying to show up for myself and just be a dope person. That it will happen, but yeah, I need to formally come up with something, some type of.
I think you should bring back the blessings jar.
Yeah,
I love that.
This is gonna be the first one. I'll go home and Bentley.
Yeah, just capital letters.
All caps, yes.
But it's so true. I think like what's awesome about that is, I think I was talking to my mum about this, about how it's kind of a bit of a human condition to. As you put it, something might happen to you that's like a blessing, And in the moment, you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. You know, but so quickly you forget about it and move on.
Yes, that's me.
And it's kind of like if you've ever had really bad toothache, right? Toothache so bad that you're like, you're praying to whatever God might be out there. Like, if you just take this away, I'll do anything.
Right.
But then as soon as it goes,
you're doing whatever you said you was.
Yeah, literally a minute after it's gone, you're like, all right, normal life again. You know what I mean? You've forgotten that blessing of it. Like, so I love the way that you could write everything down in the blessings jar and then just read that back and go, oh yeah.
Yes, because I mean, to your point, especially people who have a certain work ethic are always doing something. We're always in the shuffle of like working, but then not necessarily acknowledging the stuff that we're doing. Or sometimes I'll do certain things, and to me, it feels like, I don't know, I guess it's hard to kind of like more like a job, or more like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So then I don't give myself the gratitude that I actually did it. I'm kind of like, oh, I'm supposed to do this stuff.
Yeah.
But then it'll be people who pointed out, whether it's friends or just like people from the internet that are like, girl, this is dope, or like, I hope you know you're inspiring me. And then that brings it back to like, okay, wait, even if stuff feels very minimal to me, is a bigger picture, and I need to be better at acknowledging that, and just also celebrating myself, because life is short. And just the idea of I don't know if
No, that's amazing, because I think that is another like sort of problematic part of like the human condition, or however you want to describe it, that it's difficult to just take a moment and kind of like enjoy your achievements as you go, because it's sometimes it feels like you're just, you know, on a constant, you're just constantly trying to obtain and achieve, and not necessarily material things. It might be physical, health, spiritual, whatever it is, but it's like you're constantly trying to get where, you know, there is no end destination. So I think it's really important to like, you know, enjoy small achievements like as they happen. Right. But what kind of meditation do you do? I swear, I somehow talk about meditation on literally every single podcast, and I'm so bad at meditating at the minute. I haven't meditated in I don't know how long.
It's hard to keep up with it. I use Headspace, the app.
Yeah.
And pretty much it's like audio guided meditations. And I get in and out of it, but I think the piece that keeps me going is like seeing the running streak. Like if I get on a streak and then a day comes where I haven't meditated, it's been days where I'm like, it's 11:55, it's getting ready to be midnight, and I'm like, I gotta meditate because I'm not losing.
2-minute meditation, go.
Yes, but I think similar to you, I like fall off of it and don't go back, and it's something I need to bring.
Why is that? Why are some people so like not strict with it? Because I suppose like strict in meditation maybe don't.
I think it's about being conscious about making time for yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, if you're somebody who works a lot and you are always on, you're always thinking about the move and the job or whatever else, and not necessarily about what you need as a person. And that's something that I've learned. Even though I don't meditate the way I should, I've taken certain things from meditation, which one thing is taking out time for yourself. Even if I have 1,000 deadlines, it's like, and it's stress because, you know, it's clients need you, it's emails, it's texts. I'm like, okay, even though I know I should not be wasting any time of my day doing anything else, I deserve 10 minutes of just peace. And that's something I've learned literally in the last month of like, I deserve some time to myself where I'm not stressed. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, work is always going to be there. It's always going to be a deadline. It's always going to be somebody that needs something. But if I'm not taking care of myself, then I'm pouring out of an empty cup.
Yeah,
so
I'm with you. And on top of that, I think it's definitely important to like connect to something deeper, you know, deeper than like jobs and roles, and whatever it might be, just to remind yourself that like, you know, like projects like this have been full on, but I don't find them stressful because it's just feels so creative and passionate. So, you know, that's lucky. But I think that part of that though is that I try not to just get caught up in the seriousness of like problems. I think, you know, like if an issue arises, it's like it sounds cliche, but it's a little opportunity to like problem solve. Do you know what I mean? Not everything can go like, you know, completely as you want it to.
I agree. That is me. Like anytime it's a problem, I'm probably one of the best person to be with for an emergency, because I'm more than likely not gonna freak out. Like
Yeah.
it's been so many situations. Like so crazy. I've had a few friends that like have randomly passed out in places, like public places.
Oh my God.
Whether it's like dehydrated, just randomly. I don't know.
And you're just like, stand back.
Yeah, I bring it up because it's happened to me about 4 or 5 times, like with friends, and it's literally a thing like at a concert or anything where everybody around me is freaking out, and I'm kind of like, well, what's the point? You have to find a solution. It's like, all right, person passes out, get person water, take person to a cool. Like I don't have time to freak out.
I love that, and but again, that's it. It's like you're maintaining balance and clarity, which for me is connecting to something deeper. You're not getting caught up with the panic, which allows you to like think or feel like clearly.
Panicking takes energy, and if something is going on, you should use that energy to come up with a solution and not be a part of the panic if you can. And so that's sort of been a theme of like, okay, like I had a tire blowout on the road one time, which is one of my biggest fears.
While you're driving?
Yeah, on the freeway too.
Oh
That's like
God.
one of my biggest fears in life. And so when it happened, I mean, I was like, when I got to the side of the road, like I was definitely shaking, but like in the moment, it was the stuff that because my dad, country man to the core. He taught me how to drive a car since I was like 13. And I mean, in snow, I drove 4-wheelers, like, so I know how to operate a vehicle pretty well.
Yeah.
And so when it happened, it just clicked, and I was like, okay, I know what to do. And then when it ended, I was kind of like, whoo, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it was like, just get to safety. Like, and then you can panic a little bit of like what happened. So I try to stay level-headed and focused.
Yeah. What does your dad do, by the way? Like, how is he so practical with that strong work ethic?
I think because he country. Like my dad, he grew up in a very small.
He's just like a man's man.
Yeah,
like,
grew up small town in Tennessee. Like, I mean, he's the person where like for Christmas he's like, oh, I just want socks. Like you could just go to Walmart and give me some socks. Like he can fix anything. He can do anything. Like anytime something is wrong with my car, I always call him before I go to the dealership or whatever, and he can tell me. I can literally say one thing like, this is making a noise, and he can tell me exactly what it is. He is very much so hands-on, man's man.
I love that. I need to call up your dad, because sometimes I'm like, if I'm in a rental car, I can't even open the hood. I can't even find the thing.
New cars. He's like, I don't know. They're not made the way, the old way, and there's too many computers and stuff. So I mean, they're
just like go-karts now.
Yeah, he don't even like the internet. Like I recently had to force him to get internet, because that's how like. He just don't care. And I was like, Dad, you need to see my work, like internet.
You just need to tell him that there's loads of tutorials on YouTube so he can
Facebook,
learn even
things
more.
like that. He's like, I don't want no parts of it. People get your identity. He's not with it. But anything that's like manual, he got your cars, food, all that stuff, he got you.
And look, we got to talk about your mum, because I forgot. I spoke to your mum.
You did.
Do you remember?
That's so hilarious.
On the FaceTime. She's lovely. What's your mum's name?
Rosemary.
And you took like, so we recorded like a kind of voiceover that you wrote, and you talk about your mum being creative and kind of instilling creativity within you. She was awesome on the phone. She was so like proud and cute.
She's very proud.
It's like, my daughter looks so pretty.
Oh my goodness. And then I think she asked you like, how do you like working with Laci? I'm like, girl, get off FaceTime. Like, don't ask people that.
That's brilliant. Just a little quick hello. And she's like, Jimmy, sit down. How's it been working with Laci?
Yes,
she was awesome. But what I don't know is, and you kind of credit her, I guess, for like setting you on the creative path. But what is it that your mum kind of like did or does and like passed down to you creatively?
Everything. So
was that her like career was creative?
Yes, and that's the thing. Like when I was, and I laugh at it now because I'm literally like a grown version, like a now a younger version of my mom.
New version.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when I was young, I was like low key embarrassed because. I mean, when you saw my mom on the phone, she has like short blonde hair. And she's always been very, very eccentric. So like when you're going to PTA meetings and stuff, I'm like, girl, why do you have to have this red hair? Why do you got on these colors? Why can't you just be a normal mom that like works at Boeing and just does normal mom things?
Yeah.
But it's just not her. She's the oldest out of 7 kids. She's always had to be a leader. She's always been very resourceful because when you're the oldest out of 7 kids, you're taking care of a lot of people. You got to learn how to hustle. So she's always been a hustler. She's always dabbled in different things from like painting ceramics. Like we literally had the big, what is it? I forgot, it's over the K, but it's like the ceramic thing to make like kern,
something
like
the,
that.
The thing to spin it on, or the thing to heat it up, seal it.
Yeah.
Kiln.
Yes.
Kiln.
Yes. There you go.
Sorry for pointing.
No, I was close.
It's good.
Yeah, like she had that thing in our garage. So she was always doing something. Like even if she had like a full-time job, she's like making these ceramics and painting them for like all the kids in high school who are like graduating. So it's like a little graduate thing. Or
that's amazing.
She's a great cook, and she bakes a lot. So then she'll have like a side business where she's baking red velvet cakes for like every restaurant in Huntsville. Or she has like a pop-up shop where she's designing t-shirts. Like it was literally always something. And then I thought she was like crazy. I was like, why are you always doing something? And then fast forward, and I'm just like her, a person of like multiple skill sets and disciplines, not the baking. I haven't tapped into that yet. And it's I tell her all the time that it's nuts, because I feel like if she grew up in the generation that I did, it's no telling what she would be doing right now, because she's so talented. She's always had this creative spirit. And so once I tapped into my creativity, I realized that it was literally a direct connection to her, and it was a connection to all the things that I saw growing up, and just being able to have a sense of freedom. And I couldn't process any of this when I was younger, but I was like, wow, you really just out here like doing everything and making money and just, living your best life. And to this day, she is very multifaceted still. Like, she called me the other day and she's like, yeah, so I'm baking cakes again and doing this. And I was like, good God, like she out of control.
What are the cakes like?
Oh, amazing.
I bet they're banging.
Red velvet, like I would not eat anybody's red velvet cake on this planet, almost, because I'm just like, it's not my mama's and there's nothing that you can do to convince me. Yeah. And like anytime I've said that to people and they've had her cake, they were like, yeah, she has the Midas touch, like it's next level.
But thank goodness she didn't like work at Boeing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And isn't that funny that as a little kid, and I get that, I think everyone can relate to that feeling of like, oh, like my parent is being like a little bit crazy, or like, they're not being completely normal and boring, and so you're like, but like now you must be like, thank goodness she wasn't like that.
And she's so outspoken, and she's very extroverted. So when I moved here and I was at Disney, you basically had to grind to stay. And so I had to learn that I couldn't be the normal shy Laci that I was, and I had to tap into like Rosemary and become more extroverted, which that's helped me to be able to do things like this. Because if you would have told me back in like 2007 that I was going to be doing anything like this, anything that's public speaking, anything, I would have been like, absolutely not. Oh, really?
Public speaking
absolutely
as well?
Not.
You're a natural at it.
Like, no, it's all because
you seem
of her.
like you're a natural, yeah.
I've eased into it, but I really think it came from her, honestly.
Yeah, but you are definitely one of those people. I mean, I feel like one of these people that is, I just love creativity, and I'm kind of obsessed with everything and trying out things, and we've talked about this. It might be like fine art painting, like the canvas you've just made, or graphic design, or even you're gonna set up your own podcast, right?
Yes.
And like, is there any particular thing that you do gravitate towards at the minute, or are you like me where it's like, no, you just want to try everything?
I want to try everything, and it's interesting because I think whatever you're doing at the moment, you get a lot of that. So recently I've been doing like a lot of illustration work, but no, I'm definitely someone who wants to dabble. And one of the things that we talked about when we mentioned this before was everything leads to something else. So you being a person who is extroverted, in my opinion, you speak very well. Like you're someone that has a light to, I think.
Appreciate
and that
it.
helps you
take it.
With creative direction. Like you come on a set and you demand attention in a way where you can like direct. And I think that's such an interesting skill set. And I'm assuming, I'm just like interviewing you now. I'm assuming that through your different disciplines and jobs that you've learned these things. And so for me, like even when I look at creative direction, it's like, okay, if I'm on a set, if I've never painted anything before, how could I direct a person in like certain things? If I've never been familiar with like motion design, how could I lead a team of motion designers if I've never like known anything about it? So I think that everything that I do leads to something else. Like if I know photography, if I understand camera work and I'm on set and I'm directing, I understand where lighting needs to go. I understand the settings of the camera. And so I think being at least well-versed to some extent in these different disciplines help you do something else. Like me being an illustrator translates to fine art. Like I understand composition, I understand color, I understand lines, and so I don't want to just settle in one thing. I would never be satisfied. So I want to dabble.
Yeah,
I'm not done yet.
And you know, obviously, there's plenty of artists, sorry, that I love, and they do kind of do like they have their brand, and it's kind of like doing one thing again and again and again, and that's cool.
Yeah,
you know, that's awesome. But I definitely, for me personally, and I would imagine, not that I want to put words in your mouth, but for you as well, like I would find that a little like creatively stifling.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about this yesterday. I think it's important, especially, you know, because I love the idea of just being creative for the sake of it.
Yes.
But obviously we live in the world we live in, like you have to make money.
Yes.
I think that like establishing yourself as someone who can do multiple things early is a great idea.
It is.
So that you don't get pigeonholed, you know?
You're absolutely correct. And you brought up a good point about doing things because you also do have to make money, because I think it's this idea of, I see it all the time on like social media, of like every hobby doesn't have to be monetized. And I do believe that, but I also believe in tapping into things that are hobbies. But then if you feel like it could get to the point where you can monetize it and still have your sanity and enjoy it, then like do it. So that's the way I look at it, of like, okay, if on the side, you know, I'm coming up with like creative shoots at home and doing different things, that could translate to coming up with creative shoots for a brand or a client. You're still getting that exhilarating feeling of creativity, but then you get paid too, and go out to eat.
I'm with you. I'm fully on board. All right. Well, look. Last little thing is, in the spirit of that conversation, is there anything that you're like not doing at the minute, or don't like know, or haven't learned, any skill set that you want to go into? Maybe it's podcasting.
Yeah, I would say things that I want to do, and these are things that I've dabbled in, because I started the podcast a while back, and it was like I need to actually brand it and like think through it and make it a thing.
Yeah.
So I would say podcasting is definitely something that I want to have done by the end of this year, because I have everything set in stone. I just got to do it and stop being in my own head.
Time's running out, Laci.
I know.
You thrive off that pressure, so that's why I'm like, Laci.
Whew, I know.
Laci,
I'm tapping in. I'm tapping in. Podcasting and doing more creative direction work, and just executing my own.
Come do it with me. I've got loads of creative direction
For real, call
work.
me. Like I'm serious. Like
yeah, come
yeah.
on.
and I think it's something
I'd be grateful to be like, yeah, Laci can take over and probably do it way better than me.
I mean, hey, and I think I can learn a lot from you too. I gotta give you your props, like seeing how you handle stuff with, like just knowing exactly what needs to be done with the car and make it like Bentley owes you another check. Just saying, Bentley, because you made sure that car was like A1 every single place that we went, of like mirrors, dust, everything. And so I think you got it. So
Thank you.
Have some stuff for me,
and little side note, Bentley, you don't owe me a check.
Okay.
I will be paid in Bentaygas.
Oh yeah, me too. I'll take one.
Yeah, two.
I love how you put an S on it, like multiple.
Multiple Bentaygas. I put an S on the end of everything.
Yes.
And then what's the worst that can happen? You get 2, 3.
Right.
Awesome. Look, that's it. Quick one, 30 minutes. But
Nailed it.
look, your piece, your artwork piece is dope. The film's going to be incredible. I can't wait for you to see everything.
Me too. I'm so excited. I've seen like little shots on the camera here and there, and it's insane. The crew is A1.
I think this whole project's going to make a big splash, so I'm really excited to see it. All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Boom.